Mediators from Qatar, Turkiye and Egypt have presented Iran and the United States with what is being described as a framework of certain key principles to be discussed in the talks on Friday this week. Now, according to reports, this deal could include a commitment by Iran to significantly limit its uranium enrichment. The proposals reportedly include the requirements for Iran to halt uranium enrichment for a span of 3 years and also to transfer the stock of the already enriched uranium that it has to a third nation. The key points in the proposed framework reportedly also include the restrictions on the use of ballistic missiles and the arming of the Iranian allies in the region. Iran has denied media reports about the proposed framework. It says that its position has not changed, meaning that no issues beyond the nuclear file will be raised. For its part, the United States has made it clear that any deal must include regulations on Iranian nuclear program, missiles and the Iranian-backed groups. Iran and the United States are holding talks on Friday in Oman, with Tehran pushing to focus squarely on its nuclear program, while Washington's demands go well beyond that. The U.S. Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and the Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi are expected to attend the crucial talks. The meeting will take place in Oman and not in Turkey, as was being previously planned. The American President Donald Trump has threatened renewed military action against Iran following its deadly crackdown and mass anti-government protests, but has also said that he thinks that Tehran is open for a deal. And during the Iran-Israel war in the month of June last year, remember, the Americans had jumped in and gotten involved and had bombed 3 Iranian nuclear sites. These sites are Fordo, Natanz and Isfahan, with Trump later claiming that these American strikes had obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, although the extent of the damage at this moment still remains unknown, contrary to what Trump has been claiming. Experts say that uranium enriched about 20% can have potential military applications, but that enrichment must reach about 90% purity for it to be turned into some kind of a nuclear weapon. Iran, however, has consistently maintained that its nuclear program is a peaceful one and it has no intention to make a nuclear weapon. All right, now joining us on the broadcast, we've got Mr. Ben Aris, who's the founder and editor-in-chief of BNE IntelliNews and also the former Moscow bureau chief for the Daily Telegraph, is joining us live from Berlin. Mr. Aris, thank you very much indeed for joining us here on WION. Now, let me in fact ask you this. There's a lot of back and forth that is going on about what is likely to come up for discussion when Iran sits with the American representative. In your assessment, do you think the Iranian ballistic missiles, is it something that the Iranians would even want to discuss with the Americans in these negotiations?
I don't think they have any plan to make a missile, a nuclear bomb. And the trouble with the Ukraine war is that it's shown that anyone that has nuclear missiles, Russia in this case, won't be attacked by NATO. And that leads to nuclear proliferation. There have been parliamentarians in Iran who said that it's time for Iran to get a bomb precisely for this, because Trump is building up a military armada in the Gulf and is threatening to attack Iran. And if they had a nuclear missile, then that attack would not happen, as the Russia-Ukraine example suggests. Nevertheless, Tehran has always taken the line that it's purely peaceful. The program, the nuclear program, they want it for the nuclear power station they already have. And they denied that they're going to build a nuclear bomb. But the trouble is the rest of the world, the states in particular, are very nervous about that, and they don't even want to give the Iranians the possibility of building a bomb. And for its part, Tehran can threaten to enrich uranium to the 90% that you mentioned, where it becomes military grade.
All right. Now, Donald Trump, when the United States carried out strikes last June, claimed that the United States, through its strikes, had obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. But the fact that the Americans are again sitting down for these negotiations, does it mean that the Americans are conceding that the Iranian nuclear program has not been obliterated, as Donald Trump was earlier claiming? And secondly, Trump also walked out of the JCPOA, the Iranian nuclear deal. And with the framework that is now being floated around, how differently is the objective of what the United States wants from the JCPOA deal that earlier existed?
It's very confusing, isn't it? Before the strikes on the facilities, that Iran had about 400 kilos of highly enriched uranium. That wasn't the 90%, but could be brought to that very quickly. And that was stockpiled in caves deep under the mountains. And with these huge bunker buster bombs that they came, the Americans have claimed that they destroyed, buried that stockpile. However, the other reports have said actually the caves where it was stored survived, and that it was possible to dig it out. So some confusion now reigns over whether that stockpile is still in existence or still accessible. And it seems with these talks going on that the Americans are suggesting that it is still there, and it poses a potential problem.
All right.
As for Jackpot, that deal was a great deal, and it was working, and Trump just walked out on it. It made no sense because the Iranians were living up to all of the conditions. And yes, to restart it in some form, the talks that were going on before the latest round of tensions, the Iranians were suggesting that they were absolutely willing to do a deal. As we know, the economy is in free fall, which has sparked mass protests across the entire country, and the Ayatollah's regime is backed into a corner. They need to get some economic recovery. That means they need to get sanctions off. So they're actually much more open to it than first appears.
Interesting. Thank you very much, Mr. Ben Aris, for joining us with that perspective.
My pleasure.